Hello, folks. Thanks for tuning back in to TD Talks. Today, TD Talks market commentary, but we're going to focus on mortgages. President Trump has recently talked about the prospect of 50-year mortgages. Social media has been flooded with opinions. I wanted to get an expert opinion. I wanted to get a professional opinion, and I wanted you all to be able to get a professional opinion. Today is November 12th, and I'm excited to have Brad Hamblen on TD Talks with me today. Brad has been a mortgage professional for the past 22 years. He's one of the smartest people that I know in the mortgage space, and I like talking to Brad. Anytime I have a question, I just pick up the phone and call Brad because Brad has a comprehensive view of markets, the economy. It's not just, hey, here's what the rate is today. This is what you should do. Brad is able to conceptualize everything going on and give us truly a comprehensive view. So, Brad, thanks for joining TD Talks today.
Oh, thanks for having me. And man, what an introduction.
You like
I
that?
have to live up to that hype now. Speaking of like things you see on social media, I heard that Dave Ramsey's in critical care right now because he had the pushing through the 50-year mortgage. That's a joke. He's not in critical care, but he is like so upset that there's a 50-year mortgage coming out because his practice is 15 years. That's all you need to borrow money for is 15 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've seen the
yeah,
memes. It's pretty funny. I haven't
yeah.
seen him comment on it yet, but it'll be interesting to see what he says. And I wanted to be able to talk about this because I think it's another tool for people to
Mhm.
potentially use, but it's just like any tool. If it's used in the right way for the right family in the right context, it could be a good tool. However, it just like any other tool, it can be misused. It could be abused. It could be used against you if you evaluate your long-term financial decisions. So to start out, give our TD Talks listeners kind of your overall thoughts on this being offered, good, bad, indifferent, and kind of where you see it being a potential benefit or a potential detriment to home buyers.
Yeah, I mean, with that, there's two things that you really want to consider, in my opinion, that are important to think about in this concept is when you take a 50-year mortgage, your real enemy in the equation on a mortgage isn't necessarily always the interest rate. A big portion of it is time. The more you hold the loan, the more you pay back the bank, and all the interest is loaded on the front end of the loan. So if you just want to talk apples to apples on a 6% interest rate, and we'll pretend that you can get a 6% on the 30 and the 50, and it's probably not going to be that way to begin with. So
Is it going to be higher on the 50?
yeah, because it's going to be taking on more risk. They're probably going to be higher. I don't know how much higher, but there was a 40-year loan that was out for a while before, and it was at a higher rate than what the 30-year was. And the the thing that I would think about with this is that if we pretend they're 6% and we pretend that you're borrowing 500,000 on a 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay back the bank 1.25 million. On a 50-year mortgage, if you make every payment 1 through 50 years, it's going to end up being a total of $2,080,000.
Wait,
So
so
you're
500,000 is going to end up being you paying 2,080,000?
Yeah, man. If you it's this is the rule of 72 and compound interest working against you on a mortgage. It like the what's the saying in if you don't understand compound interest, then you're probably paying it.
Yeah.
And your mortgage is going to multiply. It's a multiple of 4.16 on a 6% loan that you pay back over time, over 50 years. On a 30-year note, the way the math works is it's 2.5 per, like 2.5 times the amount that you borrowed is what you're going to pay back. And that's how those numbers are calculated.
So in your professional opinion, is the only, so like you say, the 50 years is going to be compound interest working against you. Is the
Mhm.
only way that that could even be the least bit sensible from a loan perspective is if outside of that compound interest working against you, somewhere ancillary to that or adjacent to that in your financial plan, you have some form of compound interest working for you and at a greater level than that compound interest is working against you.
Yes, and
Okay.
that would be my one recommendation if you were considering taking a 50-year mortgage because you're like the payment. I would not recommend it for someone that's just trying to hang on and just make that 50-year payment because that's how they can afford it. If you're in between the two and you're like, hey, I really can't afford the 30-year and I can afford the 50-year, I don't know if that's the best play to buy that house and not be able to like put money away. But if you look at the difference and invested it in a way that had a decent return, then you would be looking at like, okay, well, if you borrowed the money at 6% and you took it on 50 years, but the difference on a $500,000 loan at 6% on 50 years is 26.32 a month. And if we look at it on 30 years, it's 29.97. And when you put those two together, it's like it can save you $365 a month on your monthly payment. And if you're talking about investing that difference, I think that would potentially be a good play if that was your comfort level and you were thinking about that.
Gotcha. So as I'm thinking through this, I'm also picturing in my mind a home buyer who finds a dream home, a younger person finds a dream home in Lexington, Kentucky, or Hyde Park in Cincinnati, or in the great green hills of Nashville, Tennessee. They find the house and they go, they're sitting there with their spouse and they say, "Honey, we've looked at it. We can afford 4,000 a month in mortgage payments." Um, this house that's more than what we wanted, but it's our dream house, and we could get into it at a younger age. The only way we can afford the 4,000 is if we do it on the 50 year, because 30
Mhm.
years is going to put us at, it's going to put us at 4,800, and that's above budget, and we're not going to fit that. I think, in my opinion, that might be the wrong fit for this 50-year mortgage because they're not creating any room for that compound interest working for them since this 50 years working against them. Is that kind of how you're
Mhm.
seeing this?
Yes, 100%. And if you look at it from that aspect too, when you're talking about the mortgage on a 50-year term, then you should actually really be looking at the comparison. Okay, so what is it like to rent a comparable house? And if you have a budget that's $4,000 on a rent or a mortgage, then if you look at what the mortgage gets you house wise. But what I see is that once you hit a certain level on the rental side, the rents don't continue to increase drastically. So there's not like a big rental market out there for $7,500 a month properties. There's a small rental market for that. And if you're at that $4,000 mark and you're like, hey, I want to be in this dream home, well, you might be able to rent something for even cheaper than that that's similar to your dream home and in the neighborhoods that you like, but it's just not that one house. And you can go ahead and preemptively get into that rental and then still invest the difference. So if you found something that's $3,600 instead of 4,000, then you can invest that $400 into investment product.
Awesome. Well, I think from a from the seat that I sit in as a financial advisor, it's just like any other decision. The 30-year mortgage, the 50-year mortgage, the 15-year mortgage, the adjustable rate mortgages, the fixed mortgages, across the board, it all comes down to what's the right fit for each individual family. Are they one income or two incomes? And I see a lot of folks out there on rushing to social media to give blanketed advice. So if
Mhm.
somebody wants to get in touch with a professional like you, Brad, what is the best way that they can get in touch with you to get an assessment on what's the best fit for them?
If they want to get an assessment on what's the best fit for them, probably the best way would be to reach out to me via email and email me at brad.hamblen at citywidehm.com or just have them get in touch with you, and you can do an introduction if it's someone that you know.
I think I need to
But
set up an email. It would take a lot of work off of me. I think I need to set up an Outlook rule that anytime I get an email from a client or a prospect that mentions mortgage, I need to set up one of those rules where it just automatically forwards it to you. And but I
yeah,
like to do the introduction, but yeah, for anything mortgage driven, I'll be sure and connect them with you, Brad.
awesome, man. I appreciate you bringing me on today.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on to TD Talks, and thanks everybody for tuning in to TD Talks Market Commentary. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We'll see y'all soon. The views and opinions voiced in this podcast are solely the views and opinions of Taylor Davis and do not reflect the views or opinions of any other entity or organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only and is not meant to be specific investment advice for any individual. Please consult with your financial advisor to address your unique circumstances. Taylor Davis does not provide legal or tax advice.